Please.
Standing at the top of the John Gardner mountain pass, having been pummeled by rain, wind, and snow for most of the day, the small group of trekkers stood in awe of the amazing sights of Patagonia. This is the story of an amazing 7-day adventure in the southern Andes Mountains, trekking through breathtaking scenery on one of the most beautiful mountain trails in the world, the Torres del Paine O-Circuit Trek. My name is Gavin Cooney. I'll be narrating this one about my opa. That means grandpa in Afrikaans. Billy Grove, trekking in the Andes Mountains. On a rainy morning in early January 2018, my opa set out from Puerto Arenas in Chile, South America for the Torres del Paine National Park. Opa was joined by his friend Brian Noko and Brian's daughter Jennifer. They traveled from Punta Arenas to Puerto Natales, where they stopped for lunch. After lunch, they continued to Torres del Paine in the Andes Mountains. Along the way, they stopped to play with the herd of guanaco, a member of the llama family. The dramatic Andes Mountains, with the Torres del Paine spires in the background. They entered the Torres del Paine National Park and checked in at the Hotel Las Torres. Before dinner, their guide Tomas took them for an assessment trek to determine their ability level. It was a beautiful introduction to the difficulties to follow during the next week. Dinner was Opa's favorite, Chilean lamb cooked over an open fire. Opa helped cut up the lamb because he was after the marrow inside the bones.
Since our friend Tomas here is having us on our trail at 7 in the morning. Buenas noches, muchas gracias.
No, de nada, buenas noches.
First real hike today. And what's the name of this trek?
Base of the Towers.
Base of the Towers. That's what
Today was another test. Trekking from Hotel Las Torres to Base Las Torres, the base of the 3 Blue Rock Formation Towers, after which the Torres del Paine National Park is named. Paine means blue in an ancient Indian language of this area. Trekking at first was easy, and they took a break at the Refugio Chileno. Soon after leaving Refugio Chileno, they were scrambling over boulders, gaining a total of 3,000 feet in elevation in the 18-kilometer trek. hours to get to the towers. But the spectacular view of the towers reflected in the blue-green glacial lake at Mirador Las Torres made it all worth it. The sight was breathtaking.
I'd say this view is in many ways more spectacular than much of what we've seen in the Himalayas, because it's just so different.
I think it's amazing.
I think I like Jennifer's hat.
You wearing Jennifer's hat?
Yeah, my bald head from getting burned.
Thomas, what did you say?
Oh, we are on the best day to be here.
Best day.
Very good luck. Super good. Amazing.
What did you say before? It's a gift.
Yes, totally, eh?
Today's a gift, and now I see the gift here. Oh, Jennifer, you look like the mermaid in Copenhagen.
While their guide Thomas used his filtered pump to fill up their camelback water bags, they lingered a little longer to admire the amazing view of the 3 tower against the cobalt blue sky at Mirador Las Torres. Soon they set off on the 3-hour trek down the mountain for the last night at Hotel Las Torres. Tomorrow they start the 80-mile 5-day trek from Hotel Las Torres to Paine Grand on Lago Pejo, completing most of the bucket list Torres del Paine circuit trek. Today they trek from Hotel Las Torres to Campamento Suran. Over the next 6 days, they will trek over mountains and cross streams as they make their way to Campamento Suran, Camp Dixon, Campamento Los Perros, braving gale force winds crossing the John Gardner mountain pass, sliding in the mud down the steep mountainside to the massive Glacier Gray, to camp at Refugio Gray, going on to their final destination at Paine Grand to finish with a day trek up to Campamento Italiano and Campamento French.
Second day, huh?
Day 2.
Day 2.
The trekking was relatively easy today.
Mirante Nieto Mountain.
Yeah?
They made good time to the mid-morning rest break.
Woo! A little nut break by the river.
They continued through the beautiful landscape, the vast explain, making them feel very small and insignificant in this beautiful part of the Andes Mountains. The sound of silence only been broken by the occasional birds or the rushing water of a passing stream. Around midday, they started walking in the middle of a vast expanse of daisies, trekking for more than 2 hours with these wildflowers covering the fields and mountainsides for as far as one could see.
Yeah, daisies.
Mid-afternoon, they arrived at Campamento Suran. After checking in and putting their trekking gear in their tents, they took a short walk to the Rio Paine. Finding a comfortable spot among the daisies, they put a couple of local beer named Austral, meaning southern in English, in the icy cold river.
Here we are. Austral.
Sitting in the field of daisies, they enjoy the amazing scenery from this spot in Patagonia, almost as far south as one can go, South America. ups and downs. Continuing hiking west over the Patagonian plains, they skirt the Paine River and Lago Paine with some incredible views of the Paine Massif, as well as the Dixon Glacier and Lake Dixon before the steep descent towards their Camp Refugio Dixon. It is early morning and it's raining.
Last night was quite miserable. The winds were blowing in such gusts that many times I thought the tent was blowing away with me. Which means that it's until about 1 o'clock there was no sleep. After 1 o'clock the wind slowed down, it started raining, and it is still raining now. It's gonna be a wet day and cold too. So, we sit around here for 2 hours. I've been standing out here for 15 minutes. We wait until it rains like hell and then we take off, huh?
Yes. We might not stop.
Beautiful day. I think my legs are gonna work. We did a miracle last night. The sole on my left boot is delaminating. I meant to apply some Gorilla Glue to it last night.
You forgot?
On your boot? Yeah, that's coming loose. And I said to Jennifer, no, it doesn't get water in.
It does.
I was wrong.
The trek along the Rio Paine was easy at first, but very wet still, even as the rain started letting up. But a big surprise awaited them just 2.5 miles into the trek.
Straight up that mountain there, huh?
Suddenly the trail followed a steep climb straight up the mountainside. They climbed almost 800 feet in less than half a mile.
So we camp where the river snake, on the left of that, where the clouds are formed a little bit.
But the climb was worth the view, as they breathlessly started to descend to Lake Paine.
Which orchid is that?
Porcelana.
And you never stop to get amazed by all of this, huh?
See, I get amazed all the time.
And I get to use my poles to slow me down. Everything is so different. Even in the same day, the same place is different.
For the rest of the morning, they trekked along the scenic shoreline of Lake Paine, arriving at the Coron Ranger Station around lunchtime.
Stop there. See where we're having lunch. About halfway, Thomas?
About halfway. A little more distance.
After lunch, they continued on the beautiful, undulating trail to Refugio Dixon.
Well, I didn't want to stumble as I come up here. There's our camp, there's the glacier.
The trail led through the most beautiful scenery, the Rio Paine on their right and the towering mountains on their left.
I think there's a pretty good view. Look at that. Well, so we did this in how long? We did about 5 minutes. So these are wild fuchsia.
Less than an hour from Camp Dixon, the last surprise. Another 800 feet climbed before the steep descent to Refugio Dixon.
Half an hour earlier, Dixon.
At last they arrived at Camp Dixon, nestled on the shore of Lago Dixon. After pitching the tents, Opa examined his delaminating hiking boot sole. Next, a hot shower, dinner, and early to bed.
I was very pleased with how this shell performed, which I first got when I went to Kilimanjaro in 2008. Many ski trips, 2 trips to Everest Base Camp, as well as the Inca Trail in Peru. So kept me dry and warm while we were in some pretty inclement, nasty weather this morning. Got my shoes were a little bit wet, I suppose, my socks, but everything dried in literally less than minutes in the wind and the dry air. So get ready to go take a shower now.
Trek west from Refugio Dixon, following the roaring Los Perros River through primeval beech forests, climbing through snow, rain, and wind to camp at Campamento Los Perros, set in a peaceful old growth forest. After breakfast in the communal dining room, Tomas fixed Opa's detaching hiking boot sole athletic tape.
My delaminating boot sole.
How is the pressure?
It's good, it's tight, but it's going to be fine.
It will stretch.
So, Thomas, what's the plan today?
So today, we hike up the valley. The Perros Glacier is going to be there. So as we go,
We need some horses now because there's not much from here to a couple of days, huh?
It'd be nice if we could be on the horse.
Yeah, that would be even better. Well, we got quite a climb today. We'll see you up there. There goes our camp here.
The rain has stopped, and they entered a fantasy land of lush vegetation. About 3 kilometers into the climb, they had a beautiful view of Lago Dixon. They continued up the mountain and arrived at Mirador Valle de Las Perros, the Valley of the Dogs viewpoint.
Panoramic view of the valley that we're going to take through right
The trek through the valley was beautiful, with some steep ups and downs. Just before lunch, they crossed the roaring Los Perros River.
Here, with the glacier there in the background.
Fed by the
Tomas
Los
taking
Perros
pictures.
Glacier, the river continues to gouge a deep wound into the gorges of this beautiful part of the southern Andes Mountains. Lunch was delicious in this idyllic place. After lunch, some serious climbing started as they made their way up the mountain to Los Perros, hanging glacier and lake, beautifully set in an impressive moraine landscape. The wind was amazing, with frequent gusts forcing them to kneel down and hold on to a rock for fear of being blown right off the mountain. started the last mile and a half of today's trek. Having made it to the highest point of the day, some downhill and flat trekking before reaching Los Perros camp was welcomed.
Interesting trek today, 6 hours. With the wind blowing you off the rocks very easily, you gotta be very careful how you walk. Here we are arriving at Los Perros.
Campamento Los Perros was very basic, but at least there were 2 toilets for more than 20 campers. They pitched their tents before dinner in the crowded common dining room, amazed at the meal Tomas prepared. All the utensils and ingredients having been carried here over the past 4 days by Tomas and their 2 wonderful porters. Today they climb up to the highest point of the trek, the John Gardner Pass or Windy Pass, to slide down in the steep and slippery mountainside, descending to Campamento Grey, 3,600 feet lower.
Breaking up camp for our 5th day hike. This is going to be 14 miles, but about 11 hours. Supposedly the hardest. Quite a bit of elevation change.
The trail was immediately steep over the difficult terrain of boulders and muddy tree roots.
That's a 10.
Last night, Tomas got some glue from the horsemen. He glued Opa's boot sole before wrapping it again in athletic tape. They were curious to see how it would hold up trekking through mud, rain, snow, and rivers today.
Little mistake. There it'll dry.
Climbing ever higher on a gentle slope through dense vegetation, they suddenly were on a rocky, scree slope high above the valley below. Ever upward, they crossed cascading streams of melting snow water, struggling to keep a foothold against the strengthening wind.
That's a strong wind! Not yet, eh? Getting stronger? Can you lift you up, huh? Yeah, hold on, get my, go ahead and get my glove.
Taking a break to rest on the steep, rocky trail, they waited to let another group pass.
Lala.
They continued higher up the mountain, the rain and wind never letting up.
Yeah, no, listen, the sole is sticking. Look at that. I'll just keep that on so I wouldn't have to carry it.
You know you're not allowed to leave that tape on the mountain.
There's snow.
Trudging through snow, leaning into the ever-increasing wind, they finally saw the pass on the horizon.
Well, they said it's going to be windy up here. Not kidding. I'm not even up at the top yet. Here we go. Leaning into the wind.
wind dropped, the rain stopped, and there, far below, a rainbow over Glacier Gray.
Wow, it comes clear around the side of that mountain there. And just think about it, and 4 days ago we were way on the other side of those towers.
The climb down to Lago Gray and the glacier was steep, muddy, and slippery. And unfortunately, Brian twisted his ankle badly. Tomas wrapped his ankle with athletic tape, and they continued down the mountain, crossing streams and a couple of high suspension bridges.
Wow, the color on that. Tomas says this is his favorite, one of his favorite passages, like an enchanted forest, right, Thomas? And the tree. The light's so different in here.
At the bottom of Glacier Gray, a sheet of ice 30 feet high and the size of a football field. Crossing the last suspension bridge, the end of the long day's hard trekking was in sight.
So I said, if anybody told me a couple of days ago, even yesterday, that after 11 hours or more, 11 and a half hours of hiking, I'd feel this good, ready for a beer, I would have said, no way.
They pitched their tents to camp for the night at Camp Gray.
Tomas gets the honor of unwrapping the bandage.
See, ready?
Yeah, film me.
Lucky him.
Look at that. And there's
Spoiler alert! Brian did not twist his ankle, he broke it and required surgery once he returned to New York. But even with a broken ankle, he completed this trek and another 5 days in Antarctica.
Well, it's 10 to 10 at night, and I'm about ready to go to bed after a lovely day of almost 12 hours trekking, and pretty much everything is totally dried out. Well, the boots are a different story. I actually feel like I don't want to go to bed. It's just so beautiful to be here. Just wish I could share this with Katie, Thomas, Yuki, Rusey, Jessica, Dan, Gavin, and Lolly.